Good evening, everybody. My name is Joanna Godwin Seidl, and I am the director of Vienna Theatre Project. And since the lockdown happened, we have been reading 1001 Arabian Nights for you, myself and my very dear colleague, Saman Gerard. So tonight we are proceeding with the 119th night. Scheherazade said, "It has reached me, O auspicious king," that the young merchant continued his recital to Taj al-Muluk. When I would have gone away, she stopped me and said, "Shall I tell thee something and charge thee with a charge?" So I stayed whilst she unfolded a kerchief and drew out this piece of linen and spread it open before me. I found worked on these two figures of gazelles and admired it with great admiration. Then I took the piece of linen and went away joyful, after we had agreed that I should visit her every night in the garden. But in my joy, I forgot to repeat her the verse my cousin had taught me. For when giving me the piece of linen with the gazelles, she had said to me, "Keep this carefully, as it is my sister's handiwork." I asked her, "What is thy sister's name?" And she answered, "Her name is Nur al-Huda." When I went to my cousin, I found her lying down, but as soon as she saw me, she rose with tears running from her eyes and came up to me and kissed me on the breast and said, "Didst thou do as I enjoined thee and repeat the verse to her?" "I forgot it," replied I, and nothing drove it out of my mind but these two figured gazelles. And I threw the piece of linen on the floor before her. She rose and sat down again, but was unable to contain herself for impatience, and her eyes ran over with tears, while she repeated these couplets. "O thou who seekest parting softly fair, let not the fair delude with cunning art. Fair, softly, fortune's nature is to guile, and end of every meeting is to part." And when she ended her recitation, she said, "O my cousin, give me this piece of linen." So I gave it to her, and she took it, and unfolding it, saw what was therein. When the tryst time came for my going to my lover, the daughter of my uncle said to me, "Go, and peace attend thee, and when thou art about to leave her, recite her the verse I taught thee long ago, which thou didst forget." Quoth I, "Tell it me again," and she repeated it. Then I went to the garden and entered the pavilion, where I found the young lady awaiting me. When she saw me, she rose and kissed me and made me sit in her lap, and we ate and drank and did our desire as before. In the morning, I repeated to her my cousin's verse, which was this: "Ho, lovers all, by Allah, say me sooth, what shall he do when love sore vexeth youth?" When she heard this, her eyes filled with tears, and she answered and said, "Strive he to cure his case, to hide the truth, patient, humble self, and sue for ruth." I committed it to memory and returned home, rejoicing at having done my cousin's bidding. When I entered the house, I found her lying down and my mother at her head, weeping over her case. But as soon as I went in to my mother, she said to me, "A foul plague on such a cousin! How couldst thou leave the daughter of thy uncle ailing and not ask what ailed her?" But when my cousin saw me, she raised her head and sat up and asked me, "O Aziz, didst thou repeat the couplet I taught thee?" I answered, "Yes." And when she heard it, she wept and recited in answer another couplet, which I committed to memory. Quoth my cousin, "Tell it me." I did so. And when she heard it, she wept with much weeping and repeated the following verses. How shall youth cure the care of his life undoeth? And every day his heart in pieces heweth. In sooth, he would be patient, but he findeth naught save a heart which love with pains imbueth. Then added my cousin, when thou goest to her as wont, repeat to her all these 2 couplets which thou hast heard. I replied, hearkening and obedience. And I went at the wonted time to the garden, where there passed between my mistress and myself what tongue faileth to describe. And when I was about to leave her, I repeated to her those 2 couplets of my cousin's, whereupon the tears streamed from her eyes, and she replied, if he of patience fail the truth to hide, for him no cure save death my vision vieweth. I committed them to memory and returned home, and when I went in to my cousin, I found her fallen in a fit, and my cousin sitting at her head. When she heard my voice, she opened her eyes and asked, O Aziz, didst thou repeat the 2 couplets to her? Whereto I answered, yes. But she wept on hearing them, and she replied with this couplet beginning, if he of patience fail, to the end, and I repeated it. Whereupon my cousin swooned again, and when she came to herself, she recited these 2 couplets. Hearkening, obeying, with my dying mouth, I greet who joy of union ne'er alloweth. Fair fall or happy loves, and fair befall the hapless lover dying in his droweth. Again, it was night. I repaired to the garden as usual, where I found the young lady awaiting me. We sat down and ate and drank, after which we did all we wanted and slept till the morning. And as I was going away, I repeated to her the saying of my cousin. When she heard the couplet, she cried out with a loud cry, and was greatly moved, and exclaimed, Allah, Allah, by Allah, she who spake these lines is dead. Then she wept and said to me, woe to thee! How is she who spoke thus related to thee? Replied I, she is the daughter of my father's brother. Thou liest, rejoined thee. By Allah, were she thy cousin, thou hast borne her the same love as she borne thee. It is thou who hast slain her, and may the Almighty kill thee as thou killest her. By Allah, hadst thou told me thou hast a cousin, I would not have admitted thee to my favours. Quoth I, verily, it was she who interpreted to me the signs thou madest, and it was she who taught me how to come to thee, and how I should deal with thee. And but for her, I should never have been united to thee. She then asked me, did thy cousin know of us? And I answered, yes. Whereupon she exclaimed, Allah give thee sorrow of thy youth, even thou hast sorrowed her youth. Then she cried to me, go now and see after her. So I went away, troubled at heart, and ceased not walking till I reached our street. When I heard sounds of wailing, and asking about it was answered, Azizah, we found her dead behind the door. I entered the house, and when my mother saw me, she said, her death lieth heavy on thy neck, and may Allah not acquit thee of her blood. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. I'm going to have one little drink of water, and then I'm going to carry on with the 120th night. Now, when it was the 120th night, it hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the young merchant continued to Taj al-Muluk. So I entered the house, and when my mother saw me, she said, "Her death lie heavy on thy neck, and may Allah not acquit thee of her blood, a plague on such a cousin." Then came my father, and we laid her out, and got ready her bier, and buried her. And when we had recitations of the whole Quran over her tomb, and we abode by her grave for 3 days, after which we returned to our home, and I grieving for her grievously. Then my mother came to me and said, "I would fain know what thou didst to her to break her heart. For, O my son, I questioned her at all times of the cause of her complaint, but she would tell me nothing, nor let me know aught of it. So Allah upon thee, tell me what thou hast been doing to her that she died." Quoth I did nothing. Quoth my mother, "Allah avenge her on thee." Verily, she told me naught, but kept her secret till she died of her love longings for thee. But when she died, I was with her, and she opened her eyes and said to me, "O wife of my uncle, may Allah hold thy son guiltless of my blood, and punish him not for what he hath done by me. And now Allah transporteth me from the house of the world which is perishable to the house of the world which is eternal." Said I, "O my daughter, Allah preserve thee and preserve thy youth." And as I questioned her of the cause of her illness, she made me no answer, but she smiled and said, "O wife of my uncle, bid thy son, whenever he go whither, he goeth every day, repeat these 2 saws at his going away. Faith is fair, unfaith is foul. And for this, of my tender affection to him, that I am solicitous concerning him during my lifetime and after my death." Then she gave me somewhat for thee, and sware me that I would not give it until I see thee weeping for her and lamenting her death. The thing is with me, and when I have seen thy case as I have said, I will make it over to me. "Show it me," I cried, but she would not. Then I gave myself up to love's delights and thought no more of my cousin's death, for my mind was unsettled, and fain would I have been with my lover that livelong day and night. So hardly had I perceived the darkness fall, when I betook myself to the garden, where I found the young lady sitting on coals of fire for much impatience. As soon as she was sure that she saw me, she ran to me, and throwing her arms around my neck, inquired of the daughter of my uncle. I replied, "Forsooth, she is dead, and we have caused zikir, litanies, and recitations of the Quran to be performed for her, and it is now 4 nights, and this be the 5th since she is gone." When she heard that, she shrieked aloud and wept and said, "Did I not tell thee that thou hast slain her? Hast thou let me know of her before her death, I would have requited her the kindness she did in me, in that she served me and united thee to me. For without her we would have never foregathered, we twain. And I fear lest some calamity befall thee because of thy sin against her." Quoth I, "She acquitted me of offence ere she died." And I repeated to her what my mother had told me. Quoth she, "Allah upon thee, when thou returnest thy mother, learn what thing she keepeth for thee." I rejoined, "My mother also said to me, before the daughter of thy uncle died, she laid a charge upon me, saying, whenever thy son would go whither he is wont to go, teach him these two saws. Faith is fair, unfaithful is found. Unfaithful is foul. When my lady heard this, she exclaimed, "The mercy of Almighty Allah be upon her! Indeed, she hath delivered thee from me, for I minded do thee a mischief, but now I will not harm thee nor trouble thee." I wondered this, and asked her, "What then wast thou minded to do with me in time past, and we two being in bond of love?" Answered she, "Thou art infatuated with me, for thou art young in life and a raw laddie. Thy heart is void of guile, and thou weetest not our malice and deceit. Were she yet alive, she would have protected thee, for she is the cause of thy preservation, and she hath delivered thee from destruction. And now, I charge thee, speak not with any woman, neither accost one of our sex, be she young or be she old. And again I say, beware, for thou art simple and raw, and knowest not the wiles of women and their malice. And she who interpreted the signs to thee is dead. And indeed I fear for thee, lest thou fall into some disgrace, and find none to deliver thee from it. Now, that daughter of thy uncle is no more." And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 21st night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the young merchant continued to Taj al-Muluk. Then the young lady said to me, I fear for thee, lest thou fall into some disgrace and find none to deliver thee from it. Alas for thy cousin, and oh pity, the pity of her! Would I had known her before her death, that I might have requited by waiting upon her the fair service she did me. The mercy of Allah Almighty be upon her, for she kept her secret and revealed not what she suffered. But for her, thou hast never foregathered with me, no, never. But there is one thing I desire of thee." I asked, "What is it?" And she answered, "It is that thou bring me to her grave, that I may visit her in the tomb wherein she is, and write some couplets thereon." I rejoined, "Tomorrow, if Allah please." I slept with her that night, and she ceased not saying after every hour, "Wouldst thou told me of thy cousin before her death?" And I asked her, "What is the meaning of the two saws she taught me? Faith is fair, unfaith is foul." But she made no answer. As soon as it was day, she rose, and taking a purse of gold pieces, said to me, "Come, show me her tomb, that I may visit it, and grave some verses thereon, and build a dome over it, and commend her to Allah's mercy, and bestow those dinars in alms for her soul." I replied, "To hear is to obey," and walked on before her, whilst she followed me, giving me alms as she went, and saying to all upon whom she lavished bounty, "This is an alms for the soul of Azizah, who kept her counsel till she drank the cup of death, and never told the secret of her love." And she stinted not thus to give alms and say, "For Azizah's soul, till the purse was empty, and we came to the grave." And when she looked at the tomb, she wept and threw herself on it. Then pulling out a chisel of steel and a light hammer, she graved therewith upon the headstone in fine small characters these couplets: "I passed by a broken tomb, amid a garth bright sheen, whereupon 7 blooms of Nuorman glowed with cramoisie. Quoth I, who sleepeth in this tomb? Quoth answering earth, before a lover Hades' tomb bend reverently. Quoth I, may Allah help me, O thou slain of love, and grant thee in heaven and paradise height to see. Hapless are all lovers, all e'en tombed in their tombs, where amid living folk the dust weighs heavily. Fain would I plant a garden blooming round thy grave, and water every flower with teardrops flowing free. Then she turned away in tears, and I with her, and returned to the garden, where she said to me, by Allah, I conjure thee never leave me. To hear is to obey, replied I. Then I gave myself wholly up to her, and paid her frequent visits. She was good and generous to me, and as often as I passed the night with her, she would make much of me, and would have asked me of the 2 saws my cousin Azizah told my mother, and I would repeat them to her. And matters ceased not to be on this wise, and I continued for a whole year eating and drinking and enjoying dalliance and wearing change of rich raiment until I waxed gross and fat, so that I lost all thought of sorrowing and mourning, and I clean forgot my cousin Azizah. And on New Year's Day, I went to the bath, where I refreshed myself and put on a suit of sumptuous clothes. Then coming out, I drank a cup of wine and smelt the scent of my new gear, which was perfumed in various essences, and my breast was broadened thereby. For I knew not the tricks of fate, nor the changing ways of time. And when the hour of night prayer came, I was minded to repair to my lover, but being the worse for wine, I knew not when going to her whither I went. So my drunkenness turned me into a by-street called Syndic Street. And the whole while I walked up that street, behold, I caught sight of an old woman faring with a light taper in one hand, and in the other a folded letter. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. So, dear friends, there we have it. Tonight's beautiful story. I hope you enjoyed it very much. We are now actually almost at the end of the 2nd book, so we're going to have a little celebration when we start the 3rd book. I think that's going to be enjoyed. Let's see if I can find... I'm on my computer because Joanna very cleverly printed out Saman's pages that she is going to be reading to you tomorrow, and not Joanna's pages. Such is the way of the world. I hope you have all... I'm going to play some music. Ta-da. I hope you have all enjoyed yourself immensely. It was, of course, an absolute pleasure reading for you. Let me just turn this up a little bit. It was... excuse me. It was an absolute pleasure reading for you, as usual. I send you from my little fresh new... I should just turn this around so you can see the candle a bit better. From my beautiful Salzburg abode. I will speak to you again on Friday and read something for you then. I don't know whether it's going to be 1001 Arabian Nights, because we do have a celebration. Tomorrow, Samara will be reading the end of the 2nd book, and I will talk to her, and maybe we'll start with something special next week. But you will find out, and I will let you know. I hope you are all taking care of yourself. I send you many, many, many blessings. I wish you all the very, very best for today, this lunchtime, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are in the world. It is such a pleasure to always speak to so many people and reach out to so many people all over the world, from wherever we had it, Uganda, Nigeria, we've met people from the Middle East, Syria, we've had people from Norway, the UK, different places around Europe. We've had some people from the United States. I think we even had some people from Argentina as well. So it's always an absolute blessing to be able to reach out to you. Please, if you enjoy what we are doing, do send this out to your friends and make sure they subscribe to the Vienna Theatre Project Facebook channel. We are eventually going to put this up on YouTube, and we look very much forward to doing so when it happens. From me, it is a very good night to you. Again, many blessings, many salams, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful good night. Bye-bye. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.